You didn't put visitors.
That's on there.
Oh, good. Okay, I'm just gonna wing it. I didn't, my printer didn't work, so,
What's the difference between now and any other?
okay. So I'm gonna go with visiting Rotarians. I know we have one visiting Rotarian. Somebody like to introduce the man that needs no introduction?
Hi, everyone. We have a visiting Rotarian here, Miss Tammy Hennigan from Pleasanton Rotary North, and also she does something with the district. Assistant governor.
Something, huh? He does something.
And the other world. No, the other greatest. And then, of course, our favorite Rotarian, Bob Tucknut.
And Tim, glad to have you both here. Any other Rotarians and guests of Rotarians?
We have some Rotarians on Zoom that might want to say hello.
Oh, yes, that's right. Okay, we'll let them do that. I saw Tom meandering the Sherlock Forest or something.
Anshu, say hello if you can.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, Anshu.
Hi.
Good to have Clark back. You want to say hi?
Hello, everybody. Good to see you.
Tom's muted.
I asked him to unmute, but he's not, he's not Mr. Technology,
He's
as we
making
know.
a deal. All right.
And Audrey is there, but we don't.
Hi. No, I'm here. My printer's being noisy.
Put them
Hello,
on.
everyone.
Somebody's talking.
That's Audrey Horning saying hello.
Hi, Audrey.
Tom,
All right, so we'll start at this side, guests, and then I have a lovely guest in my sweetheart. We already mentioned that last month. So sweetheart for 3.5 years and wife for 37 years, Phoebe.
Hi, Phoebe.
Welcome.
All right, any other guests? Okay. And inspiration. Is it Bob Silva? You're ready to go? I'm sure he'll mention it, but I think I was most impressed, Bob, that you said your dad was Rotary president in 1941. Yeah, you weren't born yet.
Yes, I was. I was 2 years old. Each meeting, we come in and we see the four-way test on the wall. So what I thought I would do today is share with you some quotes from Mother Teresa, and you will understand, I believe, how they tie into that four-way test. People are unrealistic, illogical, and self-centered. Love them anyway. One of the realities we're all called to go through is, to me, to move from repulsion to compassion, and from compassion to redeemment. Life is an opportunity to benefit from it. Life is beauty, admire it. Life is a dream, realize it. Do not allow
If you're looking
know
for your
what?
glasses, they're on your head, Bob.
the glasses might work if I was looking at it. Do not allow yourself to be disheartened by any failure as long as you have done your best. Life is a challenge. We must take it. We fear the future because we are wasting today. It is not how much we give, but how much we love we put into giving. I prefer you to make mistakes in kindness than to work miracles in unkindness. And finally, if you find happiness, people will be jealous. Be happy anyway.
Bob, part of your inspiration, I'm trying to get people to give their little elevator speech, and Bob gave a great speech. So I don't know if you want to add anything more, but what I appreciate going back 32 years in the Chamber of Commerce and watching Bob as a living legend along with Brad, and a man with such integrity, pride, diplomat, serving the community on the parks, recreation, the planning commission. Did you get president of the, okay, it was the parks and, well, anyway, general plan committee we served on together. And so I want to thank you for your service and what many things you've done that people don't realize. So thank you. I'm not aware of it. You can come over, I'll smoke him some salmon. Don, Lewis, we have a song.
Yeah.
Hello, Rotarians and guests. Today we're going to sing One Heart, One Club. Let's go to it.
One heart, one club, one club. Let's get together, do good, have fun. We do wheelchairs and the spirit run. Let's get together, do good, have fun. Rotary gives thanks and when the work is done, let's get together, do good, have fun. One heart, one club, one club. Let's get together, do good, have fun. Peace to serve us, a new day has come. Let's get together, do good, have fun. Mother, daughter, father, son. Let's get together, do good, have fun. One heart, one club, one club. Let's get together, do good, have fun. One heart, one club. Let's get together, do good, have fun.
Gary, I was remiss because I was running around doing too many things. I don't need the microphone. But I want to introduce my guest, because I didn't do that yet. This is James White. He is a family law attorney. No, that's why I didn't want the microphone, because I knew it would be right in front of that. Please welcome James White. He's really good at murder mystery party dress up too, because we both do that. We share that, and he's really good at that.
All right, so one thing that some other clubs do, they have a little share happy dollars and sad dollars, and then we used to do fines. So does anybody want to share, fess up, something good or bad? And if not, we're going to do the Rotarians. We need to get more recognition in the community. They want the emblem out there. So if you don't have your Rotary pin on, it's $10. And we raised $70 last week. So we're going to do it again. I got a lot of kudos from the treasurer. So wait, we need a hat to pass. Oh, Phoebe, can we borrow? All right, well, we'll just pass your money to the middle if you didn't will. Okay, so all of those, several of you wanted to have announcements, Sandra. Everybody has an announcement, please come up and this is your chance to share.
Well, wait for other people. Hey, everyone, as you know, we have our Halloween Spirit Run coming in just about a month from now on October 30th, I believe it is, 29th or 30th. Anyways, that Sunday morning, everyone knows that. And what we're needing the most for volunteers is course monitors. I guess we need, I didn't realize we needed so many. We need a total of 30. We only have about 5 signed up. So if you haven't signed up to do anything, raise your hand, let me know, or talk to me after, or talk to Julio, because he's the head of the course monitors, and we just want to fill those spots. That's one of the main things that we have left to fill for volunteers for the Spirit Run. Thank you very much.
We do have, we sponsor Cub Scout Pack 944 and Troop 911. So I don't know where we're at on the volunteers from that, but we need to follow up on that. Sandra.
Hi. Well, things are coming along really well for the Spirit Run and especially for the Kids Challenge. Last year, we had so much fun because we had our own special little race course and we had it marked off and decorated, and it was just the best fun ever. And I was really excited to see that our course setup downtown has a race setup area for the kids again this year, and we're just thrilled about it. It's gonna be really fun. They're gonna have a type where they start here, go around and come back, and so they're really gonna have fun with that. But what I need is, unfortunately, I'm not going to be here on that day. But I've got everything going on. We've got our treats, we have our treat bags, we've got our cookies, we've got our medals, and everything's all set. But I do need to have somebody to help Anshu on race day. It's about a 15-minute deal. If you're doing registration or some other things that happen during the bulk of the activities, you can do this too. So we just need, I need maybe 3 or 4 of you who can just come over there and help herd the kids and get them through the race. So if you send me a note, or what I could do is I'll send a blast out to everybody. And when you see that, just send it back and say, yeah, I'll do it. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. We received this letter from the city of Pleasanton, from the Economic Development Department, recognizing the Rotary Club of Pleasanton for our anniversary. How many years we've been here. I'm not sure that they have that number right. It says 15 on the letter. They don't know we started in 1965. But anyway, it says we want to recognize your longstanding success in Pleasanton. They do this to all the businesses. So on Friday, October 7th, for 45 minutes from 6 o'clock until 6:45 p.m. at 200 Old Brunel Avenue, they're going to recognize all these businesses, give them a certificate or a plaque, something like that. Gary's going to go and represent our club. Anybody wants to join him, he's going to buy you drinks after. I think they're going downtown bar hopping, so it should be a fun time for all. And check in with Gary if you're going to go. There you go.
Great. One last. So one of the things that we decided as a board earlier this year was that we were going to promote the Red Badgers who stepped up and took leadership positions. And Grace is one of those who has done that, and she just got her blue badge. So a big round of applause for Grace. And I want to say to Jake, I'm sorry, I should have had your badge too. I saw you here, there you are, and I will have it for you next week so we can, well, hopefully if it gets delivered in time, we'll have it to present to you so you can get your blue badge put on too, because Jake is our coordinator for the Spirit Run and he's doing a whole lot of work, and we just want to say thank you to Jake for doing that. Thank you very much.
Yes, next week is 5th Thursday, and we're gonna do a game watching, football, baseball, whatever's on TV, place to be determined, but check your email because we'll send out and it'll be fun. I'm thinking Porkies, but to be determined.
Who's got a big house?
You do.
Don't you?
All right, I think that about takes us to the Rotary.
the challenges that I face, to stick to what I believe in, creating use out of the useless. They thought I could not do it, they thought I could not make it, and today I am in the Forbes 30 under 30 list of social entrepreneurs of Asia. I'm Dr. Binish Desai of Rotary Club of Vibrant Valsad. I am a social entrepreneur and an innovator. I convert waste into eco-innovations, houses, toilets, and 150 other products. A social entrepreneur is someone who talks about creating a social change through its products, through its disruptive technologies. To provide them the employment. My factories were quite far from here, and I thought, let's do something unique. Let's bring the factory here. It's not just about creating a particular product, but actually breaking the barriers that the society has created.
We started with very small ideations of doing something for the women, something for the society, and that led to a journey which is starting, and now let's see where it takes us.
Okay, we're a little ahead of schedule. Is there any other ideas pressing, good for the order? If not, Bill, you want to introduce our guest speakers?
So this afternoon, I have a little bio I'm going to read. We have Zone 7 here to talk to us about water today. We have Alexandra Bradley, and she manages Zone 7 Water Agency's communication and outreach programs. She strategically integrates digital marketing, media relations, website, social media, public events, and school programs to ensure the agency effectively communicates with its constituents across the Tri-Valley. She received her dual BA in economics and poli-sci from Cal State University Stanislaus. She has served over 18 years of experience in business and marketing. When not communicating, she enjoys hiking, foraging for wild mushrooms in the East Bay with her husband and 2 dogs. Dr. Amparo Flores manages the integrating planning section of Zone 7 Water Agency with a focus on near-term and short-term water supply planning. She received her BS from UC Berkeley in environmental engineering science, her master's of engineering from MIT, and her PhD in engineering for sustainable development from Cambridge University. She is a licensed professional engineer with over 20 years of experience in water resources management and has been in public service for about 15 years. She is engaged in water supply planning efforts regionally and across the state. Let's give a warm welcome to Alexandra Bradley and Dr. Amparo Flores.
Can everybody hear me okay if I don't use the mic or?
No, we can get. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hello? Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for the invitation. It's an honor to be here. I think I've attended and given talks at 3 Rotary clubs in the last few months. I've had big exposure to Rotary Club and really learning some really cool things about the club. Thank you for your service. So this afternoon, I'll be talking about water supply conditions in the state, and then specifically focus on how it's affecting conditions in the Tri-Valley.
Not working.
Where's okay, here you go. Let me start by talking about Zone 7 Water Agency. Zone 7 is a treated water wholesaler. That means we provide water to 4 retailers that serve customers directly and send you your bills. So we're more in the background. We serve the city of Livermore, the city of Pleasanton, Dublin San Ramon Services District, and California Water Service Company is a privately owned public utility and also serves a portion of Livermore. And the map over there on the right just shows our service area. It's about 425 square miles in eastern Alameda County. And you can see highlighted there the different service areas that we serve treated water to. We also provide untreated water supply to ag, largely vineyards. That's obviously a big part of Tri-Valley's history and culture. There's about 3,500 acres of vineyards in the Livermore Valley. And this local wine industry is estimated at $200 million per year. And not finally, we also serve as the groundwater sustainability agency. So we manage the groundwater that sits beneath our feet. I think a lot of people maybe imagine, a lake under the ground, but we're really talking about groundwater that's stored in between soil particles, et cetera. But that's a really critical part of our water supply system for the Tri-Valley. And finally, we do serve flood protection for Eastern Alameda County. So I'll talk more about water supplies for the Tri-Valley. And when I talk about Tri-Valley here, I'm really using it to describe the area that we serve. You can see in the pie chart here on the right, we've got a breakdown of the sources of water supplies for the Tri-Valley. And there's a big slice of the pie in blue, that's the State Water Project. So that is the water system that's owned and operated by the state of California, Department of Water Resources. And that water is delivered through the Delta and into other parts of California, serving about 2/3 of California's population. And in the Tri-Valley, that water enters our area from the Delta and into what's called the South Bay Aqueduct. And it's really our lifeline in terms of water supply. That's the main way that we get water supplies into the Tri-Valley. And then you'll see there's other smaller portions of the water supply. In red is a local water supply, the Arroyo. That's a local creek. We actually have access to water from that. That water is captured in Lake Laval. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Laval Reservoir. That's actually part of the State Water Project system. And we also store our water supply there. And then in green is the groundwater that's pumped by our retailers to have access to water that's replenished in the groundwater basin through rain, et cetera. And then finally, we do have recycled water representing about 10% of the water supply that's used in the Tri-Valley. And that's served by a couple of our retailers. Now, what we typically want to have is a situation where on average years, wetter years, that we have extra water supplies to store in various baskets, right? We've got water that we store in the ground. We also store water in a surface water reservoir that's part of the State Water Project system. That's downstream of us, San Luis Reservoir. You may have seen it when you're driving up to 5 or seen signs for it. And then we also have groundwater banks down in Kern County, and we have access to 2 groundwater banks. And they're exactly what they sound like. They're places where we can store water, but they're underground. So overall, about 80% of the supplies used by the Tri-Valley is served by Zone 7 Water Agency. And here I'll talk a little bit more about the State Water Projects since it's such a big part of our water supply portfolio. This chart here shows what's called our Table A allocation. Basically, when you have a contract with the state for State Water Project water, it sets the maximum amount that you can receive from the state. But every year, the state will tell you how much of that you'll actually receive. And that will vary based on how much rainfall we're getting, how much storage is in the system, how much snow. Lots of different factors go into it. And what I mainly wanted to point out here is that there's a lot of variability, especially in recent years, on how much of that contracted water supply we actually get from the state. So it's affecting a lot the reliability of our water supply system, since again, it's such a big part of our portfolio. So in particular, the last few years, you can see here, 2020, 21, 22, 2020 we received 20%, and the last couple of years, we only received 5% of our contracted amount. So very small amount, and again, that means having to find sources elsewhere since we're not getting the supply from the State Water Project. So very worrying. I mean, just looking at the general trend of this, you can see again the variability, but more recently, really, you've got some extreme conditions. This was 2017. I don't know if you remember. So our agency, because we handle water supplies and the flood side. So whenever you've got a drought, we've got issues, right? Because we're scrambling to find water supply. And then during flood season, we're happy to have the water, but then now we're dealing with potential damages from flood. So based on these conditions, Zone 7's board declared a local drought emergency last fall, September 1st, 2021. And we had been calling for voluntary conservation before that. But on September 1st, we officially called for a mandatory conservation of about 15%, so we can conserve some of our supplies. That's the other thing, is that we're not just looking at this year, we're always trying to look at next year and the years after that. So we don't want to draw down our reserves too quickly, too much. Similarly, based on statewide conditions, Governor Newsom issued an executive order in March earlier this year, basically calling on all of the water agencies to activate their drought contingency plan. So every water agency is required to have what's called the urban water management plan. And the idea is that every water agency needs to be prepared to handle droughts such as the one we're facing now and any other sort of emergencies, because we know it's very predictable that we're going to be facing dry years in the future as we move forward. So we need to be prepared for that. So the governor asked all water agencies to activate their drought contingency plan, and then also ask for other additional conservation efforts. And here I don't really need you to see the detail, but again, I just wanted to give you a sense of what we do when we're doing water supply planning. This chart here shows the California snow water content as of April 1st. We look at April 1st because that's typically when the snowpack in the mountains peak, where they start melting and running off. And snowpack is very important to California's water supply system because it also acts as a reservoir. So think about it, during the winter, we've got the snow accumulating, and that water is trapped there, is staying there until we start to get warmer weather, and then that snow will start to melt and feed the rivers just as the rain stops falling. And so it's a really neat idea, but snowpack is a critical part of our water supply system. And here again, this is just a chart. On the y-axis, it shows the percent of average conditions. So again, note just how much it can vary. So again, this kind of uncertainty and variability is what we have to manage as water supply planners. In 2022, we were about 40% of average. Similar type of chart. This one is looking more at precipitation, and the chart here shows the accumulation in inches of precipitation. And I know you can't read the details here, but if you look at the blue shaded area, that's showing how much rain is accumulating on average from October 1st. That's the beginning of what we call the water year. So that's going to start shortly here in about a week. So from October 1st, we keep accumulating rainfall until it starts to flatten out during the drier months, during the late spring, summer. And on average in the Northern Sierra, which is very important to us because that's where most of our water really comes from, is up in the Feather River watershed. It's about 50 inches of rainfall typically that you get. And some of these lines just show you how much that can vary in a given year. The wettest year on record was 94.3 inches. That was back in 2016, 2017. And then I've lost the driest year here, but we have the second driest back in the late 70s at only 19 inches. So a lot of variability potentially. And the other thing I want to point out is that I'm sure everybody got excited about the rain. Really happy about that because it's starting to wet the ground. But again, remember, we've had a few years of back-to-back dry conditions. So while this rain was welcome, it doesn't tell you anything about what the rest of the year will look like. So we're going to keep an eye on it as we proceed over the year. And last year wasn't too bad. We actually landed at 80% of average. But again, the ground was so dry from previous dry conditions that the ground just sucked it up. So even though we had significant rainfall, first it has to wet the ground, then we'll start to see some runoff, and that will contribute to water supply. This one is just more locally, Livermore Valley precipitation, similar chart here. The blue shaded area is average conditions. So in this particular one, we're looking at the Livermore Airport. That's the location where we're measuring rainfall. And typically in this area, we get about 15 inches of rain. Pretty dry conditions in the Livermore area. We're of a Mediterranean climate. And this water year, we're at about 12.3 inches. So this year, again, we're not doing too badly. We gained another half an inch, I think, over the last few days of rain. But we're still below average, but not too far off. But again, very It's very good that we had significant rainfall, but again, not enough to really kind of get us out of drought conditions. And then here, just kind of stepping back, looking more historically, January to March is typically the wettest months of the year. So if you look at the amount of rainfall that fell historically during this period and the list of top 10 driest, sadly, 2022 has beat the record for spot number 1. And what's even scary for me is looking at number 2 and number 3, all within the last 10 years. So very worrying. We're definitely seeing a much drier pattern in these more recent years. And then the chart here, it's outdated, but it still holds really that we're still very much in drought conditions across the state. Yellow to red represent moderate to severe drought conditions. So you can see it's affecting most of the state. So given all these challenges, how are we serving water in 2022? This pie chart, again, shows a lot of detail. It's really just showing the breakout, the different sources that we have. But the point I really wanted to make here is if you look at that, those slices that are bordered by the dashed yellow, that really only about 15% of our supplies this year is coming from new water coming into our system. That's your paycheck, has been cut to just getting 15%, right? The rest of it has to come from your bank account. And that's what we're doing here, which is why Zone 7 has invested in water storage programs and will continue to invest in more storage, because again, it's such a critical part of managing through these ups and downs. About 80% of that will actually use to serve customers, and the rest, again, will go into storage for next year. We always want to start the next year with some water and storage available. So to meet our targets for conservation and to make sure that we maintain reasonable supply, we need your help to conserve, to help meet our conservation targets. The chart here just shows the targets that we're trying to set. About 50% red means mandatory. You can see how things have been going from May 2021 through last month. And we've been doing really well the last few months. So yay for the Tri-Valley. I wanted to point out here, just to give you a sense of what we're trying to do. This is a typical trend for what demand looks like over the year. So starting in January through April, the demands are pretty low because it's largely indoor use, right? Things like, we need for health and safety, for hygiene. And then you really see big jumps in the summertime. And then it drops back down in November, December, as it gets cooler, et cetera. So what we really need to do to make a major impact in serving water is to really shave off this peak in the summer. And that's what we've been trying to do. Alex will be talking about the messaging. We've been drumming up the messaging, particularly as we enter into dry months. That's why it's so important, because that's really when we can make a big difference. I'm going to stop there and let Alex talk about our outreach program. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again for having us. I'm Alex, and I manage our outreach program. Because I like data, and I have a crowd, I'm going to ask if you could all raise your hands if you knew that we were under mandatory conservation already. Good. Message is getting out. That's wonderful. Wonderful. And another raise of hands. How many have actually changed your water consumption behaviors? Excellent. All right. Well, I have a group of ambassadors, so that's very exciting. Two things at once. Okay, so drought outreach and mandatory conservation. So as Amparo mentioned, we're in the third year of an unprecedented drought. We had a little bit of trouble early this year. I work with a lot of my counterparts across the state and the region, and unfortunately, we are competing with a lot of somewhat bad news and people's attention. So we had the unfortunate start of the war in Ukraine and also pandemic fatigue that everyone is suffering from. And we had been messaging, although, as Amparo mentioned, during the winter months, I try to give people a little bit of a break from my drum beating just because they're lesser demand months. But we found that our conservation rates actually went backwards. So we were hitting negative numbers. So people were using more water than they had in our baseline year, which is 2020. So in May, we really ramped up that outreach and thankfully got a wonderful response. Our community has always been very reliable in responding to banding together and doing what we need to do during the drought. So we did see those rates hit the mark in May, June, July, and August, and we're really hoping that those numbers continue because we did lose ground in those beginning months. We really need to continue that push throughout the rest of the year. So we are doing lots of programs to get that outreach out. I work very closely with my counterparts, the retailers that Amparo mentioned. So City of Pleasanton is one of those retailers, also Dublin San Ramon Services District, City of Livermore, and Cal Water. So we work together to get the message out. Unfortunately, government will government, and everyone has their own specific rules and regulations about when you may do this and when you may do that. And so to kind of make things easier for residents, we created a drought landing page on Zone 7's website. And that's like a one-stop shop. So if you're not sure, maybe you live in Pleasanton, but you have a business in another place, this is a good reference point. You can go and look to see what your particular city or jurisdiction, the watering usage rules are. Just some notes about fixing leaks. So it may not seem like a big deal, but leaks are actually cumulatively a very big deal. Annually, household leaks waste 1 trillion gallons of water nationwide, or the equivalent of water use in 11 million homes. So it's a huge, huge problem. So things you can do: check your water meter, check your toilet for leaks with food pillar. That's an easy one, but one that often goes underlooked. Look for signs of moisture, check outdoor faucets and sprinklers, look for leaks under sinks, register. And this is a good one if you're not signed up on the City of Pleasanton. So they have a service, it's a smart energy water system customer portal. And this can also cost you money if you're not signed up, because you might have something go on all of a sudden in your plumbing system where you have a big leak in your yard, maybe your sprinkler pipeline broke, and you don't actually know about that until you get your water bill and you go, wait, why am I paying $200 more this month? So this system will actually give you within 24-hour notice timeline. So you'll be notified of that leak before it becomes both a problem in your yard for wasting water, but also for your bill. So that's a good one to sign up. You can find that on their website. Outdoor water use. So Amparo mentioned, we saw that demand really peaks in the summer, and the major reason for that is because we like to have nice, beautiful communities to live in, and to do that, a lot of times we use plants and lawns and things that require a lot of water. So 60% of household water use is outdoors, so it's a big amount. So some of the limitations that are in place now: limit watering to 3 days a week. That's actually a mandate as part of the 15% mandatory conservation. Also, watering only at night and early morning. I also happen to be a volunteer master gardener, and it always makes me sad to see people watering in the middle of the day, not only because it's wasting water, but because your plants actually don't like to be watered in the heat of the day. It creates funguses and bacteria, and it's just not healthy for plant roots and leaves and all of that. So if you are one of those that's watering when the sun is out, make sure you check your irrigation timers and bump those back, and have that water in the early morning and night. Become a mulch master. So putting out mulch instead of your just dry soil makes an enormous difference, not only in water retention, but again, wearing my master gardener hat, is incredibly great for soil health. So as that mulch breaks down, it's going to interact with all the soil microbes and bacteria and bugs, and that breaks down and builds beautiful, healthy soil for your plants. So your garden will love you. Check for system leaks. Make sure you're on a drip irrigation. It's more efficient than sprinklers. Also, if you do have grass, there are some things that you can do to make that lawn a little bit more water efficient. You can allow the grass to grow a little bit longer. When you're mowing your lawn, don't use the bag to collect the grass clippings. Actually, you can let those just fall down onto the grass, and that will not only create mulch, but also build up that soil. And then my favorite is ditch the lawn and just convert your lawn to a water-wise garden. As Amparo mentioned, we are in a Mediterranean climate. Lawns come from England, where they are roomy and have rain all day long, and they're just not meant for our particular climate. So there are lots of other solutions. If you want ground cover that resemble lawn, that can still be used as a lawn, or you can just make a beautiful oasis. We have great examples of what you can do with water-wise plants. We have 4 different pre-made designs for landscaping on our website, which you can pull from and take to your local nursery and say, I want these plants. That's the Garden by Number program. That's the 4 different plant designs. And then we also have rebates to support you. So we know converting your lawn, it's not an easy, it's a heavy lift. It's a big change, and it can be something that requires some upfront funds. So we do have a program that allows you to convert your lawn and get some of that money back. What's great is that in the city of Pleasanton, they actually came out with a new rebate program. So you can actually double stack our rebate program with the city of Pleasanton's rebate program when you do a lawn conversion. So you get even more money back. So that's one I highly recommend, because that's always, until funds run down and they're becoming more and more popular, we've seen a huge uptick in our applications for our lawn conversion program. And then we also have some easier things to do. So, you're not quite ready to convert your whole lawn, start small. We have smart irrigation controllers. Those are really great, especially now, we had random rain in September that maybe we weren't expecting. That smart irrigation controller either is linked with the interwebs, and it knows that rain is coming, or it has a soil monitor. And so it can actually tell you, hey, I watered yesterday, but I'm not going to water today because we have rain coming and it's not necessary. So it kind of does the thinking for you, and you don't have to worry about turning irrigation on and off when you have rain events. And then we also have a high efficiency washer rebate. So that's an easy one. You go to Best Buy, Home Depot, wherever you like to buy your appliances. You look for the high efficiency washers, and then boom, you've got a rebate there. And if you need resources, we are very active in our video making and webinar having. So we've had several webinars this year, and then those are all recorded and on our website, so you can watch the past recordings. So if you're, for example, interested in a lawn conversion, we have a whole 1-hour webinar with, led by experts that tells you how to do that. If you're growing food in your yard, I know that's a popular thing. I grow tomatoes, that has some tips for you on how to grow food the water-wise way. So lots of resources on our website, as well as our fun little water-wise Wendy if you just want snippets of tips. And then some additional water saving resources. So locally, we have the TriValleyWaterwise.com website, and that's a website that we've created that's just specific to gardening, and that has all kinds of gardening resources. It has a plant finder. So with our rebate programs, there are specific plants that you're allowed to use in that rebate program. So this is a tool you can use to kind of narrow down what kind of plants you're going to use in your landscape. There's also the East Bay California Native Plant Society. In our rebate programs, we don't require that you use native plants. However, they're an easy go-to if you're doing a lawn conversion, because if it's native, it's already adapted to our climate. So it's already going to be water-wise. So those plants are going to be used to having a really dry summer and then getting that rain in the winter time. So they develop long roots and they stay beautiful year long. So you don't have to worry about in the summer. Many of them can actually get away with very, very little water. It's quite surprising. And then we also have Quell as a resource. It calls a qualified water efficient landscaper, and the Hire a Quell Pro link on that website will give you a list of landscapers that have gone through that program and know exactly how to do a water-wise landscape. Then statewide, the SaveOurWater.com website, and then Bloom California is another new one, and that's a great resource for finding nurseries that carry native plants. So things for you to check out. And a couple plugs for some of our upcoming events. So this is coming up next Tuesday, the 27th at 6 p.m. Some of you may have businesses and may be experiencing the statewide regulations with regard to having non-functional turf. So there's a non-functional turf irrigation ban. So basically, things like median strips and large swaths of lawn that don't have a general purpose, like they're not a playground or a golf course. Those are under water restrictions. And so that's one thing. However, you may have trees growing within those swaths of landscape. So we don't want to kill the trees when we stop watering the grass. So this is a great resource. We'll tell you how to set up your irrigation system to have success in keeping those trees alive, because the trees are very important. They provide important cover from evaporation, air and water quality, shade, tons of stuff. So we want to protect those trees. And then this is a fun one. So we did this before the pandemic and haven't been doing a lot of organized public events, and we're kind of just starting to get back into those. So I'm excited about this one. This is at a Pleasanton resident's home, and we are going to be, she's getting ready for a lawn conversion. And part of that process is getting rid of the lawn and prepping for planting. So this is going to be that stage where we're going to sheet mulch her yard and prepare it for the fall planting. And fall planting is best done because you get the rain, and then when you put your new plants in the ground, they're not starving for water. So this is a hands-on event in Pleasanton. So if you're interested in coming, we invite you to sign up. We do need pre-registration just so we know how many snacks to bring. And here are some places to find us. This is the one time where you're allowed to get out your phone and go on Facebook and like our Facebook page. So we have our main website. We have a microsite where we feature our annual report. And we also have a new website, Tri-Valley Water Partners website, which is trivalleywater.org, and I'm very excited about that. Amparo talked a little bit about our water supply system, but I think, so I came from real estate and solid waste and recycling, and I can honestly say, didn't really ever think about where my water came from. I've lived in multiple cities throughout California, and I can't say that I ever gave it much consideration. And I think understanding the water system and where your water comes from really kind of gives you a different perspective on how much it has to travel and how precious it is when it comes out of the tap. So I invite you to check out that website. It also talks about how going forward in the next 10, 20 years, with increased population and whatnot, we're not going to have enough water. And so we're at a crossroads where we're investigating several projects and doing studies, but there will come a time where we need to really lay down the road which direction we're going to go in. And so this it's a great resource for looking at those challenges as well as the solutions that we're presenting to the community. And we're looking for input going forward on which one of those solutions are going to be the best. And of course, there is no silver bullet, so it's going to be a suite of solutions. And then our social media. And that's it for me. And I will, I brought some, let's see, 2 water bottles. So I'm gonna do a quick quiz if that's okay. Okay. So first person who can tell me what percentage of our water is imported. I didn't tell you. You were listening very nicely. And about how much of your water use is outdoor. And I also brought some additional goodies. They're up at the front table. Really excited about this plate scraper here. Most people don't realize that you actually don't need to wash your dishes before you wash your dishes. So just scrape your plate, no water needed, and then just put it in the dishwasher. I promise I do it all the time. So those are up there. Thank you so much.
Brad has a question.
What's the best time of the year to spread mulch for soil health?
I would say before the ground dries out.
Before the ground dries out.
All year long.
Yeah,
there's
not a bad time.
I got a few questions. So at one time we had a 7-year reserve. We're blessed with this wonderful underground aquifer and Lake Eye, Martin Avenue and more. That's our largest lake for recharge. So it looks like it's down about 10 feet. And then, so we had a 7-year reserve of underground water for Tri-Valley. So where are we at today?
Maybe about 190,000 feet in the groundwater basin, and demand is roughly 40,000 acre feet. But I have to warn you, much of that is not really easily accessible.
Okay, then the next question, so PFAS contamination, is it in Lake Eye or have we got that under control yet?
Well, we are putting in treatment systems for our wells, and you're right that it is present in the chain of lakes, and we are gonna be monitoring that, because the chain of lakes essentially has groundwater, and the PFAS is in the groundwater. We are gonna have to put in some treatment systems, so we've been talking about that, in our board meeting.
Thank you. And then John Marchand was one of your members, and now he's retired and going to run for mayor again. So John Marchand for mayor. So were you gonna tell us about any of your candidates, good, bad, and different? Probably we don't want to hear about bad, but. Were you gonna hit anything on that?
The only thing I can add, so we just went through an election and we have one, I believe two of the directors were reelected to their board seats, and then we have one new director. That if I understand, if I read, I only read this in the news, so I'm hoping I'm getting it right, but one of our directors who's been serving for a while, Director San Juan, has been appointed for his, East Bay Regional Park District. So she will be leaving our board. So we will, I believe that triggers the board to appoint an open seat. I think that's how it worked last time. Yeah, so we will actually be recruiting candidates, I presume, beginning of next year. So if you have an interest in water. There you have it.
President Steve has a question over here.
One of the things you didn't talk about, was the, PFAS issue, and the city of Pleasanton just decided to put that money aside and pause their plan to really build a new plan, I believe, to clean that water. What, how is that gonna impact Zone 7's, pursuit of that, getting rid of that toxic system out of the water?
So I know that we have some treatment facilities in planning phases and going to the board. I don't know how our,
I can address that. So in the interim, they'll be covering whatever shortfall they'll have. They're likely to stop using their wells when the regulations become effective for this new compound. So you all have probably heard a lot about PFAS compounds. It's a whole, it's a lot of different kinds of compounds that are out there, and they're getting regulated, one by one. And most recently, we have more of our groundwater affected by it in Pleasanton's well. The last well, they're gonna have to shut down at some point.
So
They put aside, I'm sorry?
What is it, well, 8?
That's right, yeah, and so Zone 7 will cover the shortfall in the interim, and then we will be in discussions with them about what to do moving
He
forward.
lost the bet.
It's hard.
So, anyway, we'll be working with them moving forward to figure out how to deal long-term with the issue.
Thank you.
Also, follow up to Steve's question, which is, should we be concerned about drinking the water that has these contaminants?
We have a very rigorous water quality program, and so, we actually target not just meeting the regulatory level, but we want to be 80% of that, right? So we want to be meeting the water quality standard for 100%. So no, all the water is safe to drink, and like I said, we are addressing the issues with et cetera. So we are compliant with all of the.
The two of you drink the water?
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, well, and I would add another thing, that the PFAS issue isn't solely related to water. So it's also taking a look at your consumption behavior. So, if you frequent fast food places, or you're like me, like I like microwave popcorn, or you fry eggs on a Teflon pan, like really taking a look at your overall exposure, because PFAS is a cumulative thing. So you might be, worried about drinking the water, but what if you're doing these 10 other things that are exposing you to that chemical? So really kind of looking at it holistically about what your lifestyle looks like and what can you remove out of it that might give you increased risk.
And since these ladies probably don't drink water, there's 2 bottles of Pinot Grigio in the red. So if you like, as guest speakers, you may have a bottle on me.
We had some, what proportion of the water goes to agricultural uses? And what proportion to domestic?
What proportion goes to agriculture versus domestic consumption?
Yeah, so in the trial, the water we supply, about 12% or so goes to ag, and the rest is to.
Thank you.
And then you got the purple pipe recycle, and so we could continue this the rest of the afternoon. All right, opportunity drawing.
All right, we have $42 in the kitty, so let's get one of our speakers to pick
Gary, not in front of them.
So number 651767. 1767. All right, here we go. Oh, man, of course, I'm playing with that. Is he coming up?
He's coming
Okay,
up.
all right, cool.
And in case the second number.
Okay, all right.
It's time for me to ring the bell.
All right. I know you want to. Yeah. There you go.
1772.
1772.
So with that concludes our meeting. Have a wonderful day. Afternoon, we have our foundation.
No, we're still waiting. Yeah. No one's started. Is that you, Julio? 1772, wasn't that you? Oh, okay. And
Sandra,
okay.
all right. And then we have a foundation board meeting. Oh, it's Tammy. We didn't get any updates from Tammy. Here you go. So, we have a shot at,
Foundation.
So there-
3:30.
And also we have the foundation board meeting at 2 o'clock at the Pleasanton Chamber and 3:30 for the board of directors. Thank you.
What color is it? Supposed to be red?
Has to be read.
And with that,
Better luck next time.
the meeting's ended. Thank you.
All right.
Go on, do good, have fun.
Actually,